Hello, welcome to Low Code Campfire. This is episode number 199 for Friday the 13th of June 2025. Today's main topic, it's the Partner Special Interest Group meeting. I am Dale Warner, Head of Support, joined by Bogdan Latescu, our CEO, and we're looking forward to a good conversation. This is normally a community gathering where we show techniques and challenges and experiences, but today we're going to focus on the partner aspect of Plant an App. We record all of these, and except for this one, we put them out on YouTube, where we're going to record it so we have an easy way of taking notes, but this one will probably not be posted to our YouTube channel. You can submit questions and topics in advance in our normal low-code campfire. You can use that QR code or the support@plantanapp.com email address. So as I mentioned today, we're doing a partner special interest group, and it's in place of the regular campfire. With that, hello all.
Hello, good morning, afternoon, etc.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning,
group.
everyone.
Nice group today. Familiar faces. Glad that you're all here. Bogdan, let me know at any point if you want to grab a hold of the share. But yeah, this is Bogdan's put together a few slides to kind of get things kicked off, and this is your first one, so jump in.
Sure. So yeah, the purpose today is to have a meaningful conversation. I have a couple of slides to present to you what we did so far and worked well for us. But more than everything, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What do you think would work? Because we are preparing to redesign this partner program to take into account more people, more partners, more use cases. So then I think your feedback will be very valuable to us. With that being said, I can speak a bit about the business partner program that we have so far, which is mostly about closing deals. And if you can move to the next one, Dale, it's basically, as I'm sure most of you already experienced, it's usually projects. So it's usually people don't buy Plant an App. Usually they buy a use case with Plant an App. But then most of the deals in our world look like this. There is a subscription part, and then there is a service implementation services part. And this deal flow happens from both ends with our current partners, meaning sometimes partners bring the deal and they take a cut, a partner discount out of the subscription, but they also do services around the deal, meaning implementation services most of the time. With that being said, we do have some partners that don't do any services, meaning they just close the deals and pass it to other partners to implement the services. And at the other end, we ourselves close deals, and usually we don't want to do too many services in the company because then it's very defocusing from building a product. So that stage is when we engage partners to pick up services. And the most successful partners we have now, they work both ways, meaning we bring deals, customers bring deals, we keep a constant deal flow, and of course we get involved in the sales project, in the sales process, regardless who brings the deals. We have people that can jump in, do a demo. We have so many use cases that we can bring to make it relatable to a potential lead, and other sales collaterals as well. And then most of the deals, or the ideal deal size for us, would be a deal where it will be around 21K subscription per year to start with. So this is the ideal, not necessarily what we want to discuss today. And then what we see a ratio, a healthy ratio, not just with us, but with any similar company like ours. Usually this implementation fee would be around 4 times higher, 4 times bigger than the subscription fee, meaning for a 21K subscription, there will be around 80K in implementation services. Next slide, please. So then, as you know, we have many different licensing models, the licensing options. We have two models: the legacy model and now the new model. We have a legacy model as well. Some of you might know from the early DNHR days. But basically, what we sold until now was mostly Harvest and Enterprise, with Harvest at 6,400 per application, and Enterprise starting at 21K per application. But then in the Enterprise, there's, as you can imagine, there's a lot of nuances and variations and negotiations. So deals can vary from 20K to even hundreds of K. On the new model that we launch now with 127, we use, and that, I think they presented this in this group a couple of weeks ago, if not last week. Basically, we separated the dev seat, meaning the developer experience, the support that the developer is getting, the capabilities that the developer is using, such as creating development environments or using the AI features that we keep adding in the product. From the runtime license, which just means the application needs to run, the end customer doesn't need to manage the application. The partner with the developer seat will manage it for them. We currently operate on two models. The new model is we are still experimenting with. Probably will suffer some adjustments as we learn, and ultimately will probably push the new model to be the default one. And then finally, next slide, I mentioned there are some partner discounts. So we have 3 tiers, 10, 20, and 30%. And then based on the sales volume, on the subscription volume from the trailing 12 months, that's how we calculate it. There's 10, 20, or 30 discounts based on the sales volume between 50K or between 50 and 200K second level, and then more than 20K the third year. Okay. So that's what we've been doing so far. I'm curious to hear your feedback about this, and also hearing what do you think will work for you, for your customers, for your skill set, and so on.
Was that a question, Bogdan?
Yes, a question and invitation to dialogue.
All right. So explain that last screen a little better to me. I didn't quite understand what you're trying to get across here.
So basically, when partners sell a plant and app subscription, they get a discount. It could be 10, 20, or 30%. And that discount, some partners just give the discount to the customer. Some keep it as their commission fee for doing the plant and app sale.
Did you explain?
Similar, I think DNN Corp had a similar model back in the days. I'm not sure nowadays.
Did you explain TTM?
Trailing 12 months, meaning the revenue from the past year.
Thank you.
And that's 10%, let's say, on number one. 10% discount on what exactly? On the runtime license, the seat licenses, what?
From whatever the customer is buying. Okay, so the customer will buy a runtime subscription on the new model, a legacy subscription on the old model. Some customers might even buy their own developer seats. We have this hybrid model as well. So from everything that customer is buying from plant and app, except services, of course.
Okay, but not a discount on the developer seats, is that correct?
For the end customers as well, right? Because some customers will have their internal team, so they will buy developer seats through the partner, so the partner will get discounts from that as well.
Bogdan, I have a question for you.
Sure.
On the previous slide, the pricing model slide. So essentially, you're attempting to move your model from, say, the enterprise at 21,000 a year and harvest at 6,400, moving them to the combo of the dev seat, and then essentially a server-based license of one variety or another.
Yeah.
Is that in recognition of the fact that your developers themselves are not necessarily the ones in the enterprise that are consuming or using the actual applications in its final state?
There's mainly two things that led to this. So one is that even in enterprises, paying 21K per application was expensive for many customers. So that was the feedback. So then, of course, the number of developers, it's let's say one area that of both value and cost for customers and for us. And that grows differently than the number of applications, meaning you could have one developer building 10 applications, or you could have 10 developers building one application, right?
Yeah.
But in the first case where you have one developer building 10 applications, that model really didn't work even for enterprise customers. So that's why by splitting them, we create more flexibility for customers to scale without being fixed with every step, double the cost with every new application, but also have some sort of balance. So it's flexible and it's fair to us. The more they build, the more value they extract from the product, the more money we make as well. And the second thing was exactly what you said. Many times it's a partner that has one or two developers that they are building 20 applications per year, let's say, and selling 10 applications at 21K is much difficult than selling 10 applications at 11K per year.
Right. So with regard to, in say, an enterprise context, how do you basically define what an application is? Because if, so if you could define what an application is in this context, that would be great.
In our world, an application is usually a .NET instance. We license it per domain, so it's basically a domain. The enterprise licenses come with multiple environments in the legacy plan anyway, so meaning you could have dev, staging, UAT, whatever they are called. Harvest only came with one production environment. On the new model, the dev seat gets to build additional environments, so that no longer plays into the license type. It's only a developer feature that they can build any number of non-production environments.
Yeah. Okay, so essentially what you're saying is one application is equal to one domain in that case.
Yeah.
Okay.
In an enterprise world, maybe to give something more specific, in an enterprise world, maybe you'll have a customer portal where customers log in to do something, and then maybe you'll have an onboarding flow, an onboarding application. Then maybe you have an inventory management application, and then maybe you have an HR application and so on.
Yeah. Okay. Understood. So with regard to the Harvest Runtime license, and let's say disconnected, your developer does not work at the enterprise or the entity where they're licensing that Harvest Runtime. If I understand it correctly, and I'd like confirmation that the ability to run any of the advanced features like workflows and so on and so forth are disallowed in the Harvest Runtime license, as I understand it. Is that correct?
No, so most of the features are there. So you do have the workflows in Harvest Runtime license, meaning they do run, but without the developer seat, you cannot go in and change them. You cannot do the load part. Right? So only a person with a developer seat that has access to that application can manage the application.
Okay. So in that context, if I bring on a client and they're suitable for a Harvest license, I've got a developer license. I can develop, let's say, workflows and then implement them in their license. They just can't change them on that seat, on that instance without having a developer license.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
They can run the application even if you don't have a developer seat anymore. The application will continue running indefinitely until something breaks because, I don't know, the browser update or something.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So, Bogdan, are you doing away with the starter
Sorry?
package? Are you doing away with the starter package?
No, we have the starter package as well, but that's not worth putting in the partner program because it's small deals. There is more like
Okay.
self-service deals.
Yes, I was going to mention the starter plan. That might be part of the confusion in Matt's question about Harvest. Starter, for anyone who is not aware, has some limited features and workflows, as Matt particularly mentioned, is not active there, but that's not an issue with Harvest runtime.
So Bogdan, where are you getting in North America? Where are you getting your most traction in marketplace? Is there a particular customer segment, market segment, customer size, things like that?
Yeah, there are a couple. Government, apparently we didn't expect that, but government work very well for us, especially local governments, not just US, but Europe as well. And I think that's our biggest segment right now, local governments. I think some sort of financial services or things related to financial services, we see a lot of traction as well. Healthcare, we have very good tractions in the US as well as Europe. I think it's maybe our third segment. What else? Retail, we see many use cases in retail around I don't know, inventory management, procurement systems, things like that. I think this would be and associations, of course. I think we have some people from associations here as well. So associations, it's probably one big, I would say maybe would be even the fourth one in terms of size for us, professional associations or hobby association.
Okay. Thank you.
And usually mid-market, let's say, but we do have very big customers, of course, very small customers as well, but usually the concentration of our customers is in mid-market.
Yeah, makes
companies,
sense.
Maybe 500 employees to a couple of thousand employees tops.
In that mid-market segment, who's your primary competitor?
Oh, there's so many.
Yeah.
I think it depends a lot. If you are a Microsoft shop, usually it would be Microsoft Power Apps or Power Automate or Power Suite in general. Of course, that has lots of limitation, but the downside is that it's included, right? Or most of it is included for internal applications.
Yeah, it's hard to fight against free.
Exactly, yeah. That being said, we have many customers that get fed up with it and come to PlantaNet. Especially since we are also in the Microsoft world. So I'll say that's one. And then we do arrive against these big guys like Mendix, OutSystem, Appian, but this tends to be much more expensive. So usually we rarely compete on the same deals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So is that what I'm looking to do in part, and first of all, I apologize. I don't want to monopolize the conversation. So please feel free to interrupt me. But I'm looking to onboard, bring new customers into my business, grow my business. And so what I'm looking to do is find out where I should be having the conversations and with whom, and is it a reasonably good target to have conversations with Microsoft IT folks who are fed up with the Microsoft structure of their low code?
That angle worked very well for us, especially if you mention to any customer in the Microsoft world, how much do you pay for Power Apps? Nobody will know to tell you if they pay for it, because it has so many layers and so complicated that nobody knows what you'll pay for in advance. I think the problem that we see in Microsoft Power Apps, I think it's free if you build it like internal apps, small applications, but the moment you want to build something that's customer facing, that's when it gets very unpredictable.
Right. Falls down.
Yeah, so usually people that use Power Apps, it's usually forced down down to them by the management because it's free to some extent. It's usually nobody likes it.
Yeah.
If you go from a technology angle, most of the time we see going from a business angle, going with solving a business problem with a business stakeholder, unlocks more budgets than talking to IT.
Yep. Okay. Thanks. So do you have formal documentation and agreements on your partner program,
Yeah, sure.
NDAs and such like? And how do we get going? How do I get going with them? How do we get going with them?
Yeah, I think the first step, I can send the agreement your way. I think I owe it to you from some time ago. I can send it to you.
I didn't mention that.
Yeah. So yes,
Yeah, that would be great.
I can send it to you.
Thank you.
I think I kept delaying because we are in the process of redoing the new iteration of it.
I understand.
The conversation today, it's about that, how it's going to look like the next iteration.
I just don't want you to forget me.
No way.
No one's going to forget you, Matt.
Bogdan, I joined slightly late, and this might have already been answered, but what is the difference between Harvest and Enterprise in this new model? Like, is there, because I'm understanding that there's this dev seat. So we're a bit different maybe than some of the people in the room here, where we're a single organization where Plant App is used for us entirely in-house. And I'm just trying to understand what this model looks like for us.
Sure. So you are asking also about the dev seat or just the difference between Harvest and
I'm trying to understand if for us, if we'd be looking at, so Harvest, it sounds like you get the full application with, do you also get the offline, the non-production, same per domain, so one application there, but then for each user or developer user, you're then paying your development seat for each of those individual users, correct?
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
So the dev seat will be paid once per developer. This will give access to all developers to use the support. Desk will give all developers some features like the ability to create environments, some AI features that we added in the product. So there are some features that are developer only, and end users don't see them, don't use them.
And that's still true for the enterprise one, correct? The enterprise one still requires those developer seats to develop?
Yes, on the new model, yes. So
Okay.
you have the developer seat, and you can work with that developer seat on any number of applications of different tiers.
Okay.
And then the difference between Harvest and Enterprise, there are features that are enterprise only, mostly related to security audit. And then there's also different support SLAs and a couple other things like that.
Thank you. Yeah, that makes sense.
One last thing about the Harvest versus Enterprise, just for clarification. So the Harvest is an individual domain. You mentioned governments. We do a number of governments sites. A particular, say, a state's a county site in a state will have multiple domains. They'll have the main county site, probably the county.gov, some kind of a thing. But then there may be clerk may have a website, the recorder might have a website, the circuit clerk might have a website, et cetera. So those will all be different domains. So the idea of Harvest is that if you put the product on one of those domains, that's the 2,800 a year. If you put it on another one, they pay the additional Harvest, and once you get close to the multiples that add up to the 11.5, you switch them to Enterprise so that they have a break. Is that the concept behind those two things? Do I have that right?
No. So they are all per domain, meaning the Enterprise is also per domain. So it's not like an enterprise-wide license. It's maybe the wording could be refined, but enterprise meaning enterprise level, not enterprise-wide in this context. Meaning
So
you have a
assuming
higher
the
tier
entire,
because you need some extra features, security audit, support SLAs to know that if the application goes down, it's resolved in a number of hours or things like that.
I think I'm not clear on that. In many examples I have is the counties are kind of silos, especially with politics, et cetera. So you have one county website and another website inside the county wants their own thing. Are those two people getting their own licenses and they're both Harvest? Or
Yeah.
okay.
So you'll probably have a dev seat. You develop, let's say, 10 sites for different agencies in the local government, in the county. So then each will have one license. So you will sell 10 Harvest runtime licenses, but you only have one dev seat, which is you building for them.
Okay, got it. When do we go to, so that's the issue I'm not understanding. When do you go to enterprise?
When a customer will come to you, ask you, are you SOC 2 compliant? You don't know what to answer, right? You'll come to us for this document. They will ask, what's your response times if something happens? Do you have insurance for this case and IP infringement and things like that? Enterprises will come with these requirements, right? So many of these we have answers already for, but will not engage on small deals because it's a lot of work. And besides this, also some capabilities, like you saw in the new versions, we have the workflow contracts features, some parallelization features, or something for more advanced use cases that you see in enterprises that have some particularities. So enterprises meaning larger companies that have more sophisticated setups and some requirements around audit, performance, security, and so on.
Got it. All right. One other thing about that, if one county wants, or rather one of the websites on the county wants all kinds of cool things with automations and workflows, et cetera, they would get Harvest for that domain. But then if the recorder only wants a nice feedback form with a nice listing module that shows who used the form, et cetera, now you're just using Action Form, Action Grid, they would get a starter package for them.
Exactly.
Got it.
So in the prior license descriptions for Harvest and things, there was wording related to users. Does that still apply? And
Sure. And I think the other topic that we haven't discussed here is the managed services part, the hosting part, right? So usually when we host it in our infrastructure, you'll see some text on our pricing page saying around the number of users. We never enforce that. It's more to set an expectation to users that infrastructure doesn't scale up to a point, right? So that's open the discussion for negotiating the right infrastructure, the right deal. For deploying on-prem, there is no such limit in terms of number of users. Deploying
and that was my
your
second
own
question
server.
was on how this all worked with on-prem deployment. So
yeah. So
these numbers and discussion are assuming managed services, correct?
No, these prices will be for self-managed in this context, right? Because, for example, on our AWS infrastructure, we reserve dedicated hardware for all our applications, right? So, for example, at the Harvest pricing, that would hardly be covered the AWS cost to host an application of a certain size. So these are more in the context of hosting it yourselves, because I think in this group most of you are hosting them yourselves. On the legacy plans, those include the managed part as well.
Right. Thank you.
But that being said, we are still polishing this, as I mentioned, to use the new model. So likely we'll have some options better defined on these two fronts.
If I could, continuing that scenario I mentioned about how one organization wants it all and the other organization just wants something simple. Going back to the previous slide where you talk about sharing that with us, what that percentage, the 10 to 30%, that's where that comes in. So if we've got multiple organizations, multiple domains, et cetera, just add all of those runtime licenses up, and that is the where the numbers come in. So if those numbers add up to under 50K, then there's a 10%. We would get those prices for 10%, and then we would give them the full retail price and keep the 10% ourselves, that kind of a thing, right?
Exactly.
So Bogdan, just a high level question for you. What's your percentage market share in, say, North America versus Europe and wherever else? I mean, what's your rough split on business?
So I think around 60% is US. So primarily, the primary market is still US. And I think the second one, maybe 30% is Europe, with 10-15% in Romania, because we are native here.
They like you.
But then we have 5-6% the rest of the world, meaning Australia, India, South Africa, Latin America. We have some deals.
Okay.
Most is
Thank you.
US and Europe.
All right, I got another question. Exposure in your primary market here in North America. What do you have in place, or what are you planning, or are you planning? Kind of go to market, visibility campaigns, things like that. And then more importantly for me, how can I, if possible, dovetail off those efforts to go after target markets and such?
I think the things that we do now most is local cafes, as you know, and then we do some targeted webinars, meaning use cases. And I think even in the local cafe, we did some with partners that showcases their use cases. So that's a good way to promote. Maybe one thing I would notice, I see some partners that specialize in one or two types of solutions that are doing best because they can arrive much easier at a repeatable sales process. Right? So we have a partner that only focuses, I think, on reports on a certain type of technology. Mm-hmm. That's all they do for construction companies, and that's all they do. They target construction companies with reporting tools.
Okay. That's an interesting niche.
Same, we have another one that focuses just on, I think, mortgage industry to create those kind of calculators, quotation tools, and things like that. With that being said, also we have, and I think, let's say from a marketing perspective, it's difficult to sell this technology, and most of our competitors don't sell through marketing because it's a Swiss Army knife. It's difficult to sell to solve a particular problem. How we see everybody doing is selling by use case or by problem, by industry.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's where can be good partnership, because you can do webinars around the problem. You know who to target. It's not everyone. It's just a certain persona in a certain type of company. And then we already have many use cases or many sales collaterals. So that really helps, because sometimes when a partner pulls us in a deal to support them, we come with a use case with a relatable customer. right? It's not who are these guys, because yeah, PlantenApp is not yet Microsoft. That's where I want to take it, but we still have a couple of decades till we get there. But then, yeah, people will ask, who is PlantenApp? And putting names, customer names, and use cases around that adds credibility, trust.
Yep.
I'm curious what Microsoft, and that's the wrong word. Well, I'm curious what documents you have, what maybe you have case studies, et cetera, that point to the inadequacies or the crazy costs or the whatever the downside is of using Microsoft, so that we have that as a competitive piece of material that we can share. I haven't really had any run-ins because most of the time it's organizations that we already know that we introduce PlantenApp into. But going after some new business, it would be nice to have a full story. And so saying why we're better than the competition would be very helpful.
Yeah. I think we do have some battle cards that we can use. But with Microsoft Power Apps, it's usually you cannot build customer-facing applications and you cannot build large applications. It doesn't scale. That's what we hear from all partners that use Power Apps. It doesn't scale, meaning it's designed to do small apps, maybe even. And I think I read a couple of months ago that they plan to only give it through Microsoft Teams, meaning building small apps inside Microsoft Teams, rather than building, let's say, a customer portal or a HR portal for hundreds or thousands of people.
I am thoroughly amazed that there's quiet out there. I would like to just say thank you very much, first of all, for taking your time to spend with us. We appreciate it. And I, for one, am looking forward to having, more of these sorts of conversations going forward, and they're greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Matt. It's always nice to be here in this group. Yeah, and maybe one other thing to mention. I'm sure that many of you already have this intuition. PlantenApp is not the right fit for building simple websites, right? There are much better tools, and probably, hopefully you not hate me for saying this, but outside DNN, there are so many other tools for building small websites. I think when it comes to build these more sophisticated systems that has a back office, has a process, has some sort of automation integrations, that's when DNN and PlantenApp truly shined.
Yeah, this is David from Bermuda. Yeah, as you're aware, we're building all types of sizes, and we've just adopted all types of different methodologies of working with the PlantenApp. Now we're incorporating Figma quite closely. So I know I would love to see a better implementation where the Figma code can just flow easily into the PlantenApp area. But we're finding that we've had to develop some pretty specific techniques and methods of working. So it's become our Swiss Army knife, and it's so it's very indispensable for our team.
Good, thanks for that. I was just trying to provoke a little bit more discussion. Have a few discussion questions here if there's, but really, whatever direction or questions you might have.
For the self-hosted example, what's the mechanism that you're using to identify those developer users? It's just identifying I'm curious for that example, like across, if there's one developer across multiple clients, how are you, and their client is an on-premises user, like how are you identifying that individual developer, where typically they might have a login within that client environment?
Yeah, so basically you as a developer, you'll have to log into the Plant and App console. And then when you log in, you activate your dev seat, and that gets sends something in your browser that it identifies you across all different portals. But that being said, on each portal, you will have to do this activation to create that local file on each instance to know about you. Something like that. I'm not sure, Dale, if I capture the essence of it.
Yeah, I think the main answer is that our console.plantandapp.com is the method where we assign a developer seat. So it's a pretty straightforward process when you sign on to a runtime that requires a developer seat that you activate, and the activation takes you through our console, and now you're identified as a developer on that seat, on that site. And you can move that as if you're one developer on 10 projects, you can move that seat into different sites as you need. You just activate it as you go. Does that help?
Yep, that answers it. Thank you.
Is you mentioned move, but it can be a developer concurrently to multiple sites?
You activate onto the site that you are working on at the moment. So if you're jumping from site to site, you'll likely see activation dialogues as you move into that site.
Really? I thought we addressed that, but normally that's how we want it to work, because basically, and I think this is already how it works there. I'm not sure, we have to check, but basically I'm logged in 10 different systems. I jump from system to system. I'm not asked to log in every system again. I had to the first time I accessed them, but now I can go to any system and I don't have to activate my dev seat every time I switch between them.
Your information may be more up to date than mine. Let's go with that.
So if I could repeat that to you, so I put it in physical format. I log into county1.gov. It asks me then to, because it's a runtime license that's on that site, it asks me to activate myself, or it just knows that I'm the login that's the developer, and so it just lets me in and gets to the configuration screen and everything's rosy. What actually happens?
As you go,
go ahead, Dale.
As you go into the configuration screen or try to access the admin screens of an action form, for example, if you do not yet have, if you haven't yet activated, then it's going to ask you, it's going to present you with a button to activate, takes you through a very quick dialogue if you're logged into console to activate your seat license on that site. So,
Is that a one-time thing, or if I go in the next day, I activate again? That's the thing I'm trying to understand. Once you install the product, what I'm used to is you put in the app builder, you get the pop-up saying activate this license, you go through the console, it activates it, and boom, you're on. And from then on in, whenever you log in, you just start working on Planet App pages. Not an activation every single time you log in. I'm trying to understand if that's what you're saying. I'm going to be activating a login each time an activation each time I log in every day.
No, that's where I was saying that it will keep you logged in and know who you are. So you only have to do that activation once. We do reset the activation, I think, if you change the browser, because it's dependent on the browser. If you change the browser login with the same user, same developer seat, you'll have to activate it again, but just when switching browsers.
Sure.
Or if you
Sounds like
clear your
just
cache.
yeah, clear your cookies.
Or clear
Yeah.
your cookies, yes.
which I do a lot. So, okay, just it's a minor inconvenience to go into somebody's site, to go in and do an update or whatever. Each time I go in to do that, I need to do an activation. Sounds like not a big deal.
Don, if you're doing development, which almost everybody on this call is deep into development, uh, what happens is you're going to clear your cache on a regular basis many times a day.
Yep.
Because that's just the nature of development. So therefore you'll have to reactivate it, but it's a quick, simple process, actually.
Sounds like. You have a question up here on the screen, Dale, about what makes it easier. I had mentioned earlier that a lot of what's happened so far has been word of mouth, and there's not an awful lot of marketing work that we've been doing to try to get into places. It's just people that we already know or that know of us, and again, word of mouth. So we are gearing up to get the word out. We want to do a little bit of a campaign in our state, in a couple of different states, to get more of those government seats to wrong word government groups, agencies, etc., to work with us. So we will want to be using the Planet App name, take advantage of any success stories you have, things like that, and not just send them over to Planet App to let them look around, but to use some of your materials. Is there any issues with that? For instance, if I build several pages that say we're a Planet App integrator and put the logo up, everything's cool with that. Describing what our relationship is, etc. And then also things like I already asked about, which is materials that we could use that will help us fight against the competition.
Sure. We have collaterals, and I think for our asset, meaning logos, description, and so on, of course. For the collaterals, it will be one-by-one cases, meaning you'll see, if we send you our decks, you'll see many use cases. Some are publicly referenceable, some are not. So if you need to list some Planet App customers, we'll have to discuss case by case.
All righty.
Bogdan, can you talk about the implementation services and what that looks like? So I think I heard that it was 4 times the subscription cost, but what does that give you access to? Is that giving you access to, is that an hours per week or per month? Is that a per service you're developing or application or tool set you're developing? Like I'm not fully understanding what that 4 times per subscription cost is giving you, because I'm assuming that it's hours on top of that is the development cost, but maybe there's something there I'm missing.
No, that was just an example of a deal size, meaning usually what we see when we do a deal with a customer, they will pay this amount on a subscription and 4 times that amount on services. And the services usually go to partners. So this was more about the deal in general, not about something that we charge. Usually we do very little services inside the companies. We prefer to pass them to partners. But
Gotcha,
that being
okay.
said, we do projects here and there. 2 types of projects, usually either strategic projects, very important for us, or for large customers. And then also small projects to help customers get the project to the finish line, things like that.
Thank you.
Or even help a partner reach a deadline.
So kind of a follow-on question to Don's earlier question regarding target marketing and so on. I've identified several target markets here in my neck of the woods, market size, key pain points, things like that. And probably what I need to do is my next step is to start mapping them to your what you've already got for success stories so we can have coherent discussions. And then, I'm at the very early stages of growing this aspect of the business. So need to look at what you've got for success stories, how they map to the target markets that I've identified in my neck of the woods, and then start to work on putting together a plan to go after these folks with a credible story and hopefully, a success use case in my back pocket that I can leverage. Are these success stories? I'm sure you don't have an unlimited supply, but are they the ones that are visible and available on your website? Or are there more that are, more private in terms of access?
I think most will be private. They are not on the website, but we do have many. So whenever you have a deal, reach out to me or to Dale and ask me, do you have something for this particular type of customer or industry or use case? Most chances are that we'll find something referenceable, if not demoable, meaning a system we can demo, at least a slide or two about speaking about a referenceable or anonymous customer, depending on either the customer allows us to use their logos.
Going way back, you had, I believe it was you, but Plantinap had said in terms of new customer engagements that what you were doing is charging a fixed fee for a proof of concept, get it to that agreed point, and then typically, then obviously the deal will evolve from there. Is that still true, or is there a better way to be thinking about these deals?
No, I think that's still true because usually that POC is a small amount, maybe a couple $1,000, $3, $4, $5,000. Usually it's not as big as the ultimate project. Also giving it a limited scope, like 1-2 weeks, that helps close something very fast because what we see also, everybody's busy. Even the customers, rather than talking about the entire scope of the project for 2 months and then making a decision, they prefer to have something fast to see, oh, this is exactly how we want. How did you do it so fast? It's usually the question. I want more.
Okay.
I think we had a very nice testimonial from a new customer. I'm not sure, Dale, if you shared it with the group.
No, I haven't.
So a recent customer told us that he just got hired to a new company for a month, and he said he both waited for, I don't know, 3 years or 5 years
5
to get that stuff done.
Wow.
It was an integration with
SAP, I think it was.
I'm sorry?
SAP?
Yes, SAP integration. Yep.
Oof. Hell will freeze over before you get one of those done.
Well, so he did it. So he now he moves on to the next thing.
Before you leave this slide, Dale, I want to acknowledge the effort that Bogdan and you guys have put in to putting that runtime license and splitting it out from the developers, because I think that is one of the biggest things that would help sell and deliver on new projects and things.
Thank you. It has been a big effort that we've been doing. Well, it's been this whole release has been it's a year now, so it has been a big effort to split that out. I hope it comes to fruition.
For us, we're in probably a slightly different position where Plantinap has been quite successful for government of Bermuda. And I believe it's only a matter of time before we start to seek development from the wider community, and a requirement would be Plantinap. So that's something that's in the cards, because now Plantinap is very well established, and we're currently transitioning the government portal to Plantinap, a Plantinap build, and Bogdan and our full-time equivalent developer have been really, really a fantastic partner with us. especially they're building out a headless CMS component for us. So for us, the partnership has been the marketing of PlanTNAP within the government of Bermuda, and it's spreading out. So we're now attracting more and more areas of government to get things done, and we're getting faster and faster at doing it. And way more structured in how we approach things with PlanTNAP. So I'd say it's definitely been a success for us, because I'd say my small team is probably looking like a much larger team in terms of the amount of productivity that we're achieving now.
So, David, are you with the government of Bermuda?
Yes. Yeah, I'm the senior manager of the portals team within IDT.
Mm-hmm.
And I just learned something today as part of our government portal rebuild. We're now partnering with an entity called Vision Bermuda. They're a charitable organization for the blind and those with vision issues. As it turns out, we're the only one that's engaging with that organization to make our system accessible. So, and as the managing director told me that us working with them will help to make some of their members more employable. So when that happens, that's going to be a huge political win for us.
So you mentioned ADA compliance probably in what you just said, David, and I'm sure you know Cassidy from 10 Pound Gorilla. She's a Colorado-based DNS
Oh
interview.
yeah.
Big in ADA.
2 years in a row, we sat in on some of her sessions on DNN Summit. But one thing about that format and actually sitting and working with a practitioner who's blind, I mean, it was quite a fascinating session for us.
We had a situation, the county health department main public relations person was blind, and that was very revealing to us as to really, sorry, terrible pun, but very eye-opening for us to learn that. We learned quite a bit with him as to how to build better sites, better solutions, and be more inclusive.
Yeah, for sure. They're now our partners and consultants on as you move forward. So we're going to be working very closely with them. I mean, Bermuda lags behind. Like, we don't have legislation which pushes that. But I've said, we're a government. We need to be inclusive. So I've had to push this initiative forward, and now we're doing it. And what I'm hoping is that when we succeed with this, that it will encourage other large organizations in the reinsurance sector and others to adapt a similar stance on being more inclusive.
Cool.
All right, as is our custom, that's an hour's worth, so we'll stop it here. But we obviously want to continue the discussion, and whether that's at an individual level or hold another one of these as time goes on. But I want to thank you for joining us for this one. In just a minute, I'm going to turn off the recording. We'll go to our Afterglow segment. So if you're available, feel free to hang around for a few more minutes and have an informal and unrecorded conversation. Bogdan, thanks for presenting today.
Thank you all for being here.
Thanks, Bogdan. Thanks, Dale.
You.
Yeah, and
Thank
thank
you.
you guys.
Thanks